Minister Gallagher, the Prime Minister promised 100% renewables would deliver the cheapest form of power. The Capacity Investment Scheme is a key part of Labor's reckless energy plan that shifts the costs and risk of wind and solar onto taxpayers. Australian families and businesses are already paying soaring energy prices. If Labor is so confident this is the cheapest approach, it should be able to state the cost clearly and publicly. Can the Minister please inform the Senate of the total cost of Labor's Capacity Investment Scheme in the 25-26 budget, and to assist the Minister, is it within the quantified contingent liabilities?
Thank you, Senator Hanson. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. Just a point of order. My recollection is, and I might be wrong, Senator Hanson, is that the Capacity Investment Scheme is in the climate portfolio, not the Treasury portfolio, so you would need to address your question to a different minister.
Before we continue, do us a little favour by subscribing to the channel, because over 98% of you watching haven't subscribed. It costs you nothing, not even a penny, to join this channel. Have you subscribed? Thanks so much.
I am addressing it to the Minister Gallagher because it is to do with the Treasury and it's about the budget papers.
That's your entitlement to do that. Minister Wong.
With respect, President, the Westminster system works on ministers who are responsible under the administrative arrangements for portfolios and agencies in their area. So it is not unreasonable for us to request that the minister who is responsible for the agency, if I'm right, and I think I am, is this minister to whom it's addressed.
Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, President. I'm just wondering, Senator Hanson, if you could repeat the last bit of your question. I just couldn't hear the exact question. I heard contingent liabilities, but just a bit around that.
Thank you, Senator Hanson. Wait for the call. Go now. Thank you.
The last part of the question is, can the Minister please inform the Senate of the total cost of Labor's Capacity Investment Scheme in the 25-26 budget, and to assist the Minister, it is within the quantified contingent liabilities?
Thank you, Senator Hanson. Minister.
Thank you. Well, I don't have the budget papers with me, but it would be in the contingent liabilities, and it would probably also feature in the statement of risks as well. So it is fully accounted for. There is a review of the Capacity Investment Scheme that's currently underway, but the costs associated with it, and I'm happy to come back and provide. I don't have that document in front of me, sorry, Senator Hanson, but I'm very happy to provide that number to you. But it is accounted for and was accounted for in my EFO, and it has been an important part. If you talk to big emitters, it has been an important part of our response to addressing climate change, to reducing emissions and to supporting the economy as that transition occurs. It's a worldwide energy transition that's happening, and we have to respond to it. I know there's different views about.
Thank you, Minister. The time for us. I beg your pardon.
Oh, I was going to say, I was just getting started. When we came to government, 24 out of 28 of the ageing coal-fired power stations had announced they were closing within the decade. 8 had already closed, including Hazelwood, because they were old and at the end of their lives. And so rebuilding the energy grid and supporting big emitters with reducing their emissions is a necessity. We have to provide an energy grid that works for the future, and the reality is the infrastructure we had, the policies we had that were under the former government weren't delivering that change, and the government has worked across the economy to support that transition. I will come back on the exact figure. The review is underway and the books do account for it.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Hanson, first supplementary.
Thank you very much. Well, Minister, I'm very happy to hear that you intend to give me those figures on the Capacity Investment Scheme, because the Labor's Capacity Investment Scheme listed in the budget papers as not for publication. So, Minister, you are keeping the true cost of Labor's 100% wind and solar energy strategy a secret from the Australian people. Well, you've just told me you're quite happy to give me the figures, and I want those. That's wonderful. So, if you're not going to come up with it and under the budget papers, if it's supposed to be,
Thank you, Senator
not for
Hanson.
publication,
Your
why?
time has expired. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you. And I was trying to assist Senator Hanson. I answered your question. It is factored into the budget. It is contained in the contingent liabilities. There is a review underway. Where figures are commercially sensitive, we can't release them, but I am happy to provide you with whatever information I can around the capacity investment scheme. 23, for example, 23 capacity investment scheme agreements have been executed with projects representing 7 gigawatts of capacity, and negotiations are continuing with 33 projects. The CIS, the Capacity Investment Scheme, is delivering at least 40 gigawatts of new renewable and clean dispatchable capacity to replace capacity from the ageing and increasingly unreliable coal plants, as well as place downward pressure on electricity prices and help deliver the Australian government's renewable energy target by 2030.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Hanson, second supplementary.
Thank you very much. Minister, I'm asking you to tell us how much it's costing the taxpayers with this for wind, solar and batteries. That's what we have to know. Is it 50 billion, 60 billion? How much is it costing the taxpayers? Why are you keeping the secret from the taxpayers? Because they're footing the bill for this. The taxpayers have a right to know. Now, you said you'd give me figures, so I'd be interested to see what figures you intend to give me.
Thank you, Senator Hanson. Minister Gallagher.
I am explaining to you, Senator Hanson, that I will try and provide you with whatever information I can. Where those investments are commercially sensitive or not for publication, of course that is a constraint. But I can also give you figures on what is actually happening with driving or building the new energy system here. I mean, this is about making sure energy remains affordable in light of the fact of our current ageing infrastructure, including those coal-fired power stations that are no longer providing the energy that we need. That's the reality. They're closing, they're ageing, they're breaking down. I mean, I remember even just a few years ago, if you had a heat wave, people had to try and manage their electricity output. Because we have put in place new energy into the grid, the energy system is a lot more stable than it was.
Thank you, Minister.
Good evening and welcome back. A lively exchange in the Australian Senate has put the spotlight back on one of the country's biggest policy debates, the cost of the transition to renewable energy and how much taxpayers should know about government spending on that transition. The discussion unfolded during question time when Senator Pauline Hanson questioned Finance Minister Katy Gallagher about the government's Capacity Investment Scheme, a programme designed to support investment in renewable energy generation and energy storage. From the very beginning, the exchange focused on one central question. Senator Hanson wanted to know the total cost of the scheme and whether that figure could be identified in the federal budget. She argued that if the government believes its energy strategy will deliver affordable electricity, Australians should also be able to see the overall cost of implementing that strategy. Before the minister responded, there was a procedural discussion in the chamber. Foreign Minister Penny Wong raised a point of order, suggesting the question related more directly to the climate and energy portfolio than to the finance portfolio. However, the Senate President ruled that Senator Hanson was entitled to direct the question to Minister Gallagher, who was invited to respond in her capacity as Finance Minister. When Minister Gallagher began her answer, she asked Senator Hanson to repeat the final part of the question so she could respond accurately. After hearing it again, the minister explained that she did not have the relevant budget papers in front of her at that moment. She said the information was accounted for within the budget framework, including contingent liabilities and statements of risk, and added that she was willing to provide the specific figure if she was able to do so. Minister Gallagher also placed the discussion within the broader context of Australia's energy transition. She said the government inherited an electricity system facing significant challenges, with many coal-fired power stations approaching the end of their operating lives or already scheduled to close. According to the minister, investing in new electricity generation and storage is part of ensuring Australia has a reliable energy system into the future while supporting emissions reduction and economic transition. She argued that the transition is not unique to Australia, describing it as part of a broader global shift in energy markets. In her view, government support through programs such as the Capacity Investment Scheme is intended to help maintain reliability while encouraging new investment in renewable generation and storage projects. Senator Hanson, however, remained focused on the overall cost. During her supplementary questions, she argued that Australians deserve to know exactly how much taxpayers will ultimately contribute toward wind, solar and battery projects. She questioned why some figures relating to the scheme were listed as not for publication in the budget documents and said greater transparency would allow the public to better understand the financial commitments involved. Minister Gallagher responded that while she intended to provide as much information as possible, some aspects of the scheme involve commercially sensitive information that cannot always be released publicly. She maintained that this limitation did not mean the spending was absent from the government's financial reporting. Instead, she said there are legal and commercial reasons why certain details cannot be published, while agreements and negotiations remain ongoing. The minister also highlighted progress under the Capacity Investment Scheme, noting that agreements had already been reached with a number of renewable energy projects and that negotiations with additional projects were continuing. She said the objective of the scheme is to encourage investment in new renewable generation and dispatchable capacity, helping replace electricity supplied by aging coal-fired power stations and supporting long-term reliability within the national electricity market. As the exchange continued, Senator Hanson pressed the government for a clear dollar figure, asking whether taxpayers were looking at costs in the tens of billions of dollars. She argued that Australians footing the bill should have access to the full financial picture. Minister Gallagher reiterated that she would provide whatever information she was able to release, while stressing again that commercially sensitive material could not necessarily be made public during active investment processes. She also returned to the government's broader argument that modernising Australia's electricity system is necessary because many existing coal-fired power stations are becoming older, less reliable, and increasingly expensive to maintain. The discussion reflects a much wider debate taking place across Australia about the country's future energy mix. While there is broad recognition that significant investment will be required as older electricity infrastructure is replaced, political parties continue to disagree on the pace of the transition, the technologies that should receive government support, and how much detail should be publicly disclosed about long-term investment costs. Supporters of renewable energy investment argue that expanding wind, solar and energy storage can improve reliability over time, reduce emissions and help meet Australia's long-term energy needs. Others continue to question the overall cost of the transition, how those costs are distributed between governments, industry and consumers, and whether sufficient transparency exists around major funding commitments. The Senate exchange illustrated these differing perspectives. Senator Hanson focused primarily on transparency and the overall financial commitment, while Minister Gallagher focused on the government's policy objectives, the practical challenges facing Australia's ageing electricity infrastructure, and the commercial constraints surrounding some investment agreements. As with many parliamentary debates, both sides used question time to present their positions and scrutinise government policy. It is now likely that further discussion of the Capacity Investment Scheme, energy investment and electricity affordability will continue through future parliamentary proceedings, committee hearings and public debate. For Australians following the issue, the key questions remain how the energy transition will be funded, how costs will be reported over time, and how governments balance commercial confidentiality with public transparency. We'll continue following developments in federal energy policy and bring you updates as more information becomes available through Parliament and official government announcements. Thank you for watching. What do you think are the most important questions Australians should ask about the future of the country's energy system? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. If you found this summary helpful, consider subscribing for more factual coverage of Australian politics, Parliament and public policy.